based on a sign. Could that be why Isaac was blind? Isaac was a picture of promise, right? Could that be why Isaac went blind? How does the promise go blind? How does the promise go blind? Could it be Becca? Becca? She was pretty. She was a nice hair twirler. Please put your hands under my thigh. It hurts me because I don't know the significance of the thigh, except that, right? We all know the bones in the body. We know the few of the bones, right? I only know probably 20 or whatever, but we know that the femur is the biggest and the strongest bone, the thickest bone, right? So when God wanted to cripple Jacob, he touched his thigh. Why would you make us swear on a thigh promise? It's almost like you made him put his hand under your thigh, because that's the biggest, thickest bone. I could depend on my thigh. I know that my security lies in my thigh, because if I want to get up and walk, if I don't have my thigh bone, I could be missing any other bone. But if I don't have my thigh bone, right, I am most miserable, right? When I walked on crutches with my foot messed up, but if my thigh was messed up, oh my Lord, I think it would have been a lot more pain, right? Because of the fact that your femur is the biggest and strongest bone in the body. So you put your hand under the biggest and strongest part of me. I'm on my way out of here. I'm about to go see Jesus. I am in expiring mode. I'm about to go see God. He has blessed me, right? So I'm telling my oldest and best servant to put his hand under my security and talk to me. It starts out nice. It does. Please put your hand under my thigh and swear by the Lord, the God of heaven and the God of earth, that you will not take a wife for my son from the daughters of the Canaanites among whom I dwell. Now, can we touch on something really fast? A couple of months ago, right, because I was talking about that Brave study. It was a book called Brave, and they were studying that book called Brave, and they were so into it, right? And I said, no book should be named Brave anyway, because the Bible tells us to be courageous, right? Courageous. Never tells us to be brave, right? Be strong and very courageous, right? And it tells us to be courageous 365 times. But if you're not handling the courageous part, why are you picking up a brave? I don't want to be brave heart. I want to be brave hearted. I want to be courageous, because the courageous part lands me with God, right? I want to be, hallelujah. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. So I started to tell you guys, I said another reason why I don't want to be brave, I want to be courageous, because I'm so, right, fascinated, right, with the spirit of the Syrophoenician woman, right? When she came to Jesus and she said, heal my daughter. She is vexed with a spirit, right? And God has just shown me this. I didn't read any of this before I started, right? Except the Abraham scripture. And so she said, heal my daughter, because she is vexed with the spirit of the devil. And so Jesus said, it is not meet to take the children's bread and hand it to the dogs. Now, at that point, I opened up the question. I said, why is she a dog? I mean, people think that they're looking at the situation. Well, she looked like a dog, right? Then you go to the Pharisees, bink, bonk, bink, bonk, bonk, the phylactery lovers of the phylactery, don't have a mind at all. Simon says, ooh, 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 ooh. Ooh, 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 ooh. Right? Might as well be Pharisees. And the scouts, but they would be even bigger monkeys right behind them, because if the Pharisees did not tell them, jump whenever before they hit a little pebble on the ground, they would miss it. Why? Because they was always dipping their pen inside of their ink and writing on their tablet, writing on it. So they would, I guarantee it was Sadducees hitting the floor all the time. Sadducees, right? That's why they were Sadducees. So they were there too, right? And so were the disciples. They all watched. And so I said it was probably set up like an amphitheater, right? You got rows on this side, rows on this side, and rows in the middle. That's kind of how my church is set up. It's like 5 rows, right? So you got rows on one side, rows on one side, and rows in the middle of the middle, right? In the middle of the middle, in the middle of the middle, in the middle of the middle, in the middle of the wheel, in the middle of the wheel, in the middle of the middle. Where are you sitting? I said, it's probably like an amphitheater go, right? You got the Pharisees and Sadducees on one side, you got the disciples on the other side, and then here comes this woman. Who In the beginning, I guaranteed, was not thinking about who is watching me until she got to the master to talk to him, right? I'm nervous, right? And so I don't know, I don't even know my name, right? I want to talk to somebody that I deem as important, that I look up to. I stutter badly, horrifyingly. It's terrible. I can't get one word out. On here, I'm just like, I'm verbose. I got loquaciousness, right? I'm a logorrhea. But then I start to stutter. Do you think she had a stutter when she got there? All those people watching her, I get nervous in front of people. Nervous. Terribly nervous. I near about have a panic attack every time I get up in front of people. Do you think she did that? I think God enables us. Every single time I get up in front of people, I say, what is wrong with me? Why can't I outgrow this? But I think that's how God keeps me humble. He keeps me at the point where my stomach literally does flip-flops, right? And I get scared and nervous every single time. And now I bring my gift to the master. You said children are a promise. You're a gift, right? From you, they are a gift. And so I've got one and she's defective. Fix her, please. He said it's not meat. So we need to take the children's bread and hand it to the dogs. I'm not asking you for meat. I'm asking you for bread. You bread, right? Because that's what she said, basically, truthful. But the dogs get to eat some crumbs from the master's table. Come and give me some crumbs. Give me some crumbs, Jesus. Truth, Lord. I love that. Because even in that statement, I said, truth, Lord. Truth, Lord. It's a double entendre. That's what they call it, right? Double entendre. Where you say, truth, Lord. So it's truth, because the Lord is truth, right? So truth, right? It's a double covenant. She Syrophoenician woman was from Canaan. The Bible says she's from Canaan. Starting to make sense why I opened her up. She's from Canaan. So I said, if Abraham settled in the wilderness and he's surrounded by Canaanites, and he went to go, he's mating with people. Remember, after Sarah was in the ground? Bye, Sarah. He had like 5 wives. I know because the last one name began with a K or something. So I don't have time. I keep thinking I'm going to look it up, but I don't have time to read it because it just doesn't interest me. But he had 5 wives. He wasn't playing. I'm going to get me some kids. And God still blessed him in everything. Blessed him in spite of himself, knowing that Abraham was doing nothing but splitting the seed of the promise that God had given him. This woman talking to Jesus was from Canaan. If that's the case, she was from the area that Abraham was in. Wasn't Abraham in Canaan? Or in the outskirts of Canaan? Or around Canaan? I mean, he just said it. And I said it before. He was amongst the Canaanites. The Jebusites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Jamiites, the Milkites, cornbreadites. I want some cornbread. Anyway, so she was from the area. Even if I lived in Lois' house, but if someone next door or down the street said, "Oh, can I have some of your popsicle, Jamie?" No, you can't have my popsicles. That's nasty. But I'll take you to the store and you get your own, and I'll pay for it. Because we take care of our own. We're in the same neighborhood, right? Part of the problem between the religious people, religiosity. I love the way my pastor says that, religiosity. I can barely say it, religiosity. Whew, that's a word, right? Part of the problem, though, is that they always discriminated. Because the disciples were the disciples of Jesus. And to everybody else, they were known as dumb Galileans. And I'm not like, why are they dumb? They had businesses, they had fishing businesses, they're behind Jesus, they learning. Why you call them dumb? They were a rabbi. You qualify him as a rabbi. You said he was a rabbi. He's a rabbi. So you got the Pharisees and Sadducees. And nobody liked them because they called them the Pharisees blind guides. So there's so much I want to call it racism, but I want to say this better word for it is classicism. Because she was from Canaan. And Abraham was in Canaan or around Canaan in that area. I may not be the seed of Abraham, but I have some Abraham in me. I breathe my ancestors breathe the same air. Y'all act like y'all don't know me. You know me. You know me. See? And it stems back to this time. That's the crazy thing. Don't take a wife for my son from the daughters of the Canaanites among whom I dwell, but you were out there macpelling with them. But you shall go to my country and to my family. Here's where we get it. And take a wife for my son Isaac. That's when I threw the Bible down and said, ain't that a good? Because it is. Because what did God tell Abraham? That's so funny. I don't know why I expected an answer. But seriously, what did God tell Abraham? He told Abraham to what? Get up and leave your father's house and get away from your countrymen, right? I told you to get up and leave. Get up and leave. Now, the hard part about it is, I'm going to go to chapter 9, verse 24. So Noah awoke from his wine and knew what his younger son had done to him. Ham, that was his younger son. Then he said, cursed be Canaan, and a servant of servants. He shall be to his brethren. And he said, blessed be the Lord, the God of Shem, and may Canaan be his servant. May God enlarge Japheth, and may he dwell in the tents of Shem, and may Canaan be his servant. And so you got a lot of servantry being passed around. To the point where I wonder, who's the blessed one? Because in Abraham's story, Abraham had given his servant a lot, right? He gave him a lot of stuff to give him all things. And I'll take care of all my stuff. You are in charge of all my stuff. I love you because you are awesome. Leaving the son aside, because the son is actually of age at this point. But I take care of all my stuff. You rock, servant. I love you so much. And so Abraham had this servant that he was very, very close to. But then when we look at Joseph, right? Because even Abraham's servant was blessed. When we look at Joseph, Joseph was a blessed man of God, right? And so he was taken and then on a journey with the Midianites, right? And so he ended up at Potiphar's house, right? And Potiphar loved him and treated him well, but he was still a servant and could not rise above it. He treated him very well and put him in charge of all his stuff. So who's blessed? I mean, he told him, get away from your father's house and your family. What does that mean? Now the Lord has said to Abraham, get out of your country, from your family, and from your family's house. Now I want to focus on the middle two lines. Get out of your country, from your family. Now we're going to go back to what he told the servant. But you shall go to my country and to my family and take a wife for my son Isaac. Does anybody see what I see? If God told you to get away from your family and your country, when God told me to get away from my family and get where he was telling me to go, I didn't tell them anything. They didn't even know to look up and see my back moving away from them. They had no idea. I didn't tell them anything. And the way up here was made, and the ride up here was made, and the people that brought my stuff up here was made. As soon as I got up here, I was put in a church that was made. The way was made for me. Pastor Tim sent his truck with this woman to come and get me, and Pastor Tim had no idea who I was. He knows who I am now. But Abraham said to him, beware that you do not take my son back there. So that's how you know. That's how you know that Abraham knew that that place was horrible. Because he said, I want you to go there. Don't take a wife from people around here. But I want you to go there to my family house, right? Go back to my hood, right? My ghetto. Let's do it like that. And then pick from there a woman to marry my son. Now, we talked about Abraham, right? And he was from right? They worshiped the sun and the moon god. They had no faith, right? They did not believe in God, the God of faith. And so could that be why what's his name? Isaac was blind. I was also thinking about Solomon, right? They talk about Solomon having, 3,000 wives and 750 concubines or 700 concubines, something like that. I didn't look it up, but I think it's 700, maybe 700 wives and 3,000 concubines. But either way, I've calculated it. And even if he slept with one wife every night and just left her alone after that, he could not sleep with all of his wives in a year. He could sleep with 10 wives a night and could not sleep with all of them in a year. Somebody would get neglected. I'll tell you the number, 50 of them would get neglected. And what the Bible lets us know is that he started to slip and started to go into a mindset that was not the right mindset, right? He was in a mindset, instead of having a mind of Christ, when he first asked God for wisdom, right? God gave him wisdom, so he had the mind of Christ. And then after Ecclesiastes 3, right, it seems like he picked up this attitude where he said, everything, I've seen everything, but everything in life is vanity. Why? I believe it was from sleeping with all of those women and their deities. You gotta be careful who comes to your house. Anoint your house when people come to here. When they leave, anoint your house, because you don't know what gods they are carrying, right? They look like they're having a great time, right? But they're beating their kids at home and sacrificing their children to the god of Molech, right? The picture of that, right? Making their children walk through the fire. Lois made me walk through the fire. I have to run past me. So I have to run past her, and she just whack me with the belt. Bam, 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 bam. I didn't do anything wrong. She just wanted a reason to laugh. I had to walk through the fire. It's all right. I mean, I'm not angry about it. I'm just, I keep my arms and legs covered for the most part. But you cannot sleep with you cannot sleep with every person and expect to come out okay. Those spirits, right? I believe that's where depression really comes from. I believe that. That's why I say when you're bipolar, right? You switch poles all the time. I don't know what they're talking about because I don't. I mean, there is a little issue with the hormones in my body right now because I have a PCOS, which is cystic ovaries, polycystic ovaries. So my hormones are off. Kirk even said it. So with the hormones being off, my attitude changes. And so I try to get back up away from people when that happens. But I know it's happening. I'm in control of my body. I'm in control of who I am. I bring my body under subjection. Why? Because I have the mind of Christ. I bring my body under subjection. Why? Because I have the mind of Christ. And the one thing I'm learning from my pastor and his wife is boundaries. That's a lesson I don't even know if he's teaching. He knows he's teaching me, but he is. Boundaries. And I said, maybe I got to learn how to express the fact that I need my boundaries up better. Maybe I need to learn how to express that I'm taking a break better. However, that does not erase the fact that boundaries right now are necessary. Selah. And so we look at this picture where I named at least 3 things that Abraham did wrong here. I mean, he judged the Canaanite women, right? Well, he himself was stepping out of line. Don't let him marry a woman from the Canaanite people, but go back to where I came from. So what you're going to do like Solomon. Go back to where you came from. Grab a woman from where you came from so that she can bring all the gods that God had you escape. He had you leave those gods behind so that you could focus on him alone and come to know him for who he is, oh God, instead of what he could do for you. So he had to escape it. He said, get away from your father's house and from your country. From your country. You're supposed to leave the country. Is that why he was supposed to leave the country and get away from it? Because anytime you could go back and say, I'm going back home, anytime you could get up and say, I'm going back home and mean it, you're too close. I cannot comfortably say, I'm going back home. I've said it sometimes when things got really, really terrible. I mean, I'm in the country and it's new. I'm a city girl. So they speak a different language here. It's like, they're so sweet, but when I speak, sometimes they don't understand me, so they think it comes off aggressive when I'm not being aggressive. So it's a different way. And for me, sometimes that's frustrating. But I know that God is with me, and I know I have to let him have his way. right? And I got a great pastor that's working with me, teaching me the gospel of grace. So I try to focus on the better things. I'm not going back there. I'm staying home. Most people say, I'm going back home, right? I'm going back home when they get sick of it. Samantha said that when she went to Georgia, right? She went to Georgia, she was going to go to dental school, and, things happened. Mimi came, and then everything went down the drain. But when we went down to go see her, Samantha said, I want to go back home. I'm going back home. And like 2 weeks later, we saw her walking up to the door, my grandma's door. She meant it. Samantha makes decisions, and when Samantha means it, she means it. She meant it. I'm the crazy one. When I make a decision, I will leave and stop talking to you, and I'm already walking in a direction I need to go in the middle of a sentence. So they all say, Jamie, you don't think. Jamie, you don't think. You just have an idea, and you move with it. Yeah. Because my faith is strong. So is my stupid. I don't always think things through. But I don't have to. Because I serve a God who knows my heart, right? And I'm not saying I'm getting up just making dumb decisions, right? For example, unless I'm with somebody, I do not go out after dark. For what? If you out after dark, you asking to be raped. That's just where it is in the city. Now I don't know how it is in the country. Probably same way here too. Why you gotta be out after dark? And you out alone after dark? That is stupid. Your ID is on the stoop. And he gonna make a fool of you. And Abraham fell for it. Maybe he was supposed to marry a Canaanite woman so he could teach her the ways of the land. Either way, the book about Rebecca wasn't the one because he ended up blind. And anytime, right, blind Bartimaeus was born blind, right? And I have a question for him too. I think he lost his seeing. I do. Oh no. I should do it, but I'm still having trouble breathing. My sound of shock. Patience, blind Bartimaeus. Invitation. Come to Jesus. Come to Jesus, right? Ooh. Criticism. Shut up! You're talking too loud. Right? That's what happened. Very simple. That's why I love my pastor's little theorem. It's very simple. It's a hypothesis. Very, very simple. Very, very simple. Patient, invitation, criticism.